Hello, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I hope all of you are doing good. Welcome back to the reading practice session. Am I audible to all of you? Thank you. Let's begin with today's test. The same announcements. Please make sure that all of you are timing yourselves, especially the ones who have been attending the classes from a while now. Please keep a timer on. You can use your mobile phones and keep a timer of 2.5 minutes for each question. And then make sure that you are not just finalizing your answers and then thinking and rethinking on them again and again. You have to post it before 2.5 minutes. And then when we have the discussion, please make sure that you are writing, noting down the notes. Anything in the discussion part that seems important to you or something that's new to you, you should be noting those things. Please be very, very careful and active when the discussion is going on. And here you have your first question on the screen for reading writing blanks. And post your answers within the time, and then we'll have the discussion. All right, should be done. Let's discuss the answers for this one. So this says the Etruscans formed the most dash nation in pre-Roman Italy, and all of you are right in selecting powerful because we need a word which can describe a nation. With most, when we write a verb, it total most plus the word becomes the third form of verb. Like we say, beautiful is first form, more beautiful is second, and most beautiful is third. So whenever you have most, then you don't change the verb in that case. Means with the verb, we don't put er or est. Because if you put est, it is already the third form. You cannot write most in that case. So stronger cannot be the answer because stronger has er and ers are second form of verb. And for describing a nation, we cannot say most ruling nation. Ruling is used for a person or a thing that rules over the another. And potential is capability. We did this word yesterday as well. They means, sorry. They created the first great civilization on the peninsula. They means we are talking about Etruscans. They created the first great civilization on the peninsula. Dash influence on the Romans as well as on present day culture is increasingly recognized. Now, when we look at the options, their influence, there we use for plural human beings or plural noun. That is when we use there. That cannot come with a comma before it. When we use that, we never put a comma before that. Whose influence is used to refer to anything. Whose can be used for an organization. Whose can be used for human beings as well. So anywhere we can use the word whose. Whom is used for human beings only. So here we'll go for whose because our noun is civilization. The influence is of the civilization, the first civilization that they established. So they created the first great civilization on the peninsula, whose influence means influence of that civilization on the Romans is increasingly recognized. So we cannot go with their. Many of you have written their influence. How can you start their influence by just putting a comma and you're starting a new sentence? We cannot do that. When you're putting a comma and writing a blank means you're referring to something in the previous part. You cannot start a new sentence in that. Whom is used for human beings, Rajni, I said. Evidence dash that it was the Etruscans who taught the Romans the alphabet and numerals along with many elements of architecture, art, religion, and dress. Now, many of you have written research had suggested. Who told you that research was done in which year? How do you know that the research happened in the past time period? It can be the present research as well. Where is the time of the research given? So this we discussed a few weeks back. Whenever you have research or evidence word given, you always go with simple present tense unless and until it is mentioned in the context that in which year the research or the evidence or whatever they are doing was done. Unless and until we have the year in the past, you cannot select any tense apart from simple present tense in that case. This is a rule. So when we have evidence, this is singular. We need a verb with S because we have to select simple present tense. So was suggesting is past continuous, has been passive voice, and this is present perfect. Had is past perfect. What I said we need is simple present tense whenever you have research or evidence and the year is not given, which 99% of the times there will be no year given with research or evidence, and you always have to go with simple present tense in that case. The toga was an Etruscan invention, and the Etruscan style column became a mainstay of architecture of both the Renaissance and the later classical revival. Etruscan dash on the ancient theatre. So, what of Etruscan can be on the theatre? Can we say, I think there should be apostrophe here, Etruscans' effect on the ancient theatre. So, Etruscans were the group of people who lived in the most powerful nation, who made the most powerful nation pre-Roman Italy. People cannot have effect on the theater. People can have, or this community, this society can have influence on the theater. They cannot have behavior on the theater or capacity on the theater, particularly human beings we're using for a group of people, they don't have capacity on the theater. But yes, every community, every social group has some kind of influence over the other group or on things even. So we can go with influence of these people on the theater survives in these forms. So the first one, with most comes the verb without changing its form, and we'll go with powerful because we need a word for nation. It cannot be ruling nation or potential nation. We'll say it was a strong nation, powerful nation. The second one, we cannot start a new sentence with just a comma. We have to refer to something, and we are using whose for civilization as the noun, whom is used for human beings. The third one, whenever you are not given the year of evidence or research, you have to go with simple present tense. So evidence is singular noun, we need a verb with s. And the fourth thing, what of Etruscan can be on the theater. So every group, community, social group can have influence over other things, other people, on society. So that's how we use the word influence. Right? Any confusions, anybody? Okay, so let's move on to the second question. Here is your question number 2. You have 2.5 minutes to post your answers for this one. Alright, should be done. Let's discuss the answers for this. This says rivers are nourished by precipitation, by direct overland runoff, dashed springs and seepages, or from meltwater at the edges of snowfields and glaciers. So they are giving us the different methods by which rivers get nourished. First method is they get nourished by precipitation. The second method is by direct runoff. Third is springs and seepages, and this is very disheartening to see people writing among here. Do we really need a preposition here? Among is used for when you have more than two things. That is when we use among, and we are talking about distribution of some kind. Then we use among, but here we were giving the methods, and this we have noted down a lot of times. Whenever you have any method, way, or process written, in those cases you always go with through. Through comes with methods, with ways, and with processes. And here springs and seepages is one of the methods of nourishment, one of the processes of nourishment, or one of the ways of nourishment. All three fit here. So we cannot say rivers are between springs and seepages or more. There are only two things. So we cannot go with among also. And rivers are nourished off springs and seepages also doesn't make sense because this is a way of their nourishment. The contribution of direct precipitation on the water surface is usually minute, except where much of a catchment area is dashed by lakes. So whenever we have a blank before by, we need to go with third form of verb. So let's first check the grammar. Covered, diverted, occupied, and held. All four are third form. So we have to find some other hint, or maybe the answer can be based on context. So they are saying that area is dashed by lakes. Only this much is important. Area is covered by, diverted by. Diverted is just to change the direction. So area cannot be diverted by lakes, as lakes cannot change the direction of the area. But we can say area is occupied by lakes because occupied means taken up by. And area is held by. Held is to hold something in your hands, and lakes cannot hold an area. So it's better to go with occupied, means taken up by. You cannot go with covered because it's not that lakes are intentionally covering that area. But it's better to say that this area is occupied by lakes, means this area is taken up or this area has lakes there. River water losses result from seepage and percolation into dash or deep aquifers, and particularly from evaporation. So whenever we have or, we have to either go with synonyms or antonyms in that case. So any option which is the synonym of deep, depth is the noun. We need adjective because aquifers is already the noun. We just need a describing word, and depth is not an adjective. We don't have the synonym, but we do have the antonym, which is shallow. Shallow means something which is not deep, and deep means something of greater depth. So we'll go with shallow here. The difference between the water input and loss sustains surface discharge or stream flow. The amount of water in river systems at any time is but a tiny fraction of the Earth's total water. And then they have given the explanation. 97% of all water is contained in the oceans, and about 3/4 of fresh water is stored as land ice. Nearly all the remainder dashed as groundwater. They are, this is present tense, means this is how the division, quantitative division of water we have, that 97% we have in the oceans, 3/4 we have as land ice, and the remainder dash as groundwater. So it's not about past tense. If we say the remainder existed, means now it does not exist. So we cannot go with existed. Happens, water cannot happen. Stays as groundwater, better is occurs as, because what they are telling us, if you read the sentence, they are trying to tell us what are the different forms of water that occur on the earth. That this much percentage occurs as in the form of ice, 97% is in the form of water in the ocean. So this is the occurrence, different forms of occurrence of water. We cannot say stays, because says like I stay at this particular hotel or I stay in this particular country, that is staying, living aspect. Lakes hold less than 0.5% of all fresh water. Soil moisture accounts for about 0.5%, and water in river channels for half as much. The sentence is absolutely complete, so we need adverb here, something with ly, and we only have one option, roughly half as much. Around is also an adverb, but when we have quantity, a rough estimate, then we generally go with roughly half as much, not around half as much. Around goes more with, like, half would be a fraction, and around goes with numerals, 10,000, 15,000. That's when we use around. And with fractions, half, three, fourth, we use rough estimate. Roughly is better, right? So these are the answers. The first one is through because we have a way, a method, a process. The second one, the area is occupied by lakes. Occupied means taken up by, or we have lakes in that area. Third one, with or we use antonyms or synonyms. No synonym was given, but antonym is there, shallow or deep. Fourth one, they were talking about the different forms in which water occurs on the land, on the earth. That's why we go with occurs as groundwater. And the last one, we cannot say existed, Rajni. What explanation did I give for existed? If you say existed, that will mean it does not exist now. Existed is past form, something that we do not have now. So, but we do have groundwater right now as well. So we cannot go in past tense. Last one, around goes with numericals, quantities, and with fractions. It's better to say roughly half as much. Also, I don't think we can say channels for around half as much, no, roughly half as much. These are the answers. Any confusions? Anyone? Mode stored is past form. It's not the writing style here. Stored is past form, but are you not looking at is here? You can say that stored is past only if you have stored, just like we have existed. But if you have is stored, that means currently we are storing it. That's a writing style that with helping verbs, you always use third form of verb. So the helping verb decides the tense. If you say was stored, then it becomes past. If you say is stored, then it becomes present. All right, Meera? All right, so here you have your question number 3, 2.5 minutes to solve this, and then post your answers in the chat box. Okay, should be done. We have done this discussion earlier as well, that whenever a statement is telling us a fact, you cannot select past tense or future tense. Facts are always written in present tense. Now, in this first sentence, they were explaining what is non-dramatic theatre, what happens in non-dramatic theatre, and you are selecting admitted. The performer admitted in the past. Now the performer does not admit. So be careful. Analyzation is something that many of you are missing. You're just going with the flow, reading, and whatever you feel like is the answer, you're putting that. You're not following any rules or steps that we have been discussing in the class. It's not going to make a difference to your scores this way. So in non-dramatic theatre, the performer dash the presence of the audience and may even play directly to it. Can you see they are using present tense here? Still we are selecting past tense. So first of all, anything which is not present tense should be eliminated. Now you have two options. Performer knows the presence of audience. So if somebody is standing on the stage and there is audience in front, the person will know. How can the person not know that there is audience? He or she can see it, right? So it's not about knowing or not knowing. It's about acknowledging. Acknowledging here means, see, there are some of the plays which the performers, they don't interact with the audience at all. They just do their thing and they go back. But in non-dramatic theatre, this is what the example, if you read ahead, the example is given, that in non-dramatic theatre, there is an interaction. So that is called acknowledging, that there is somebody and you're valuing that person there. You are not doing just your own thing and you're not bothered about who's watching and who's not watching. So acknowledgement means you're valuing somebody sitting here and you are making their presence felt. So that was a difference in non-dramatic and dramatic. In dramatic theatre, the actor may or may not do so. In Greek old comedy, for example, an actor speaking for the author might advise or challenge the spectators. So challenging somebody in the audience means you are interacting with them. You are advising them something means you are interacting with them. By dash, the naturalistic actor plays as though a fourth wall closes off the room of the stage. So in the previous sentence, they said there is an interaction with the spectators, means the audience. In the next sentence, they are saying the actor plays as though this is the fourth wall, means the audience is just a wall and there is no interaction. So we have opposites. So what connector can we use? By difference is not a connector. By compare is not a connector. With connector with contrary is on the contrary. By contrary is no connector. The connector with by is by contrast. So when you give opposite, that in one form there is an interaction, in the other form the audience is just like a wall, means there is no interaction with them. Between these two dash fall a variety of relationships. So obviously with two will come a plural word. Two cannot be one thing. So anything which is singular should be first eliminated. Now we have two plurals, similarities or extremes. Extremes means extremely different things. Now what was in the previous sentence? The previous sentences were not similar, they were opposites. So we cannot go with similarities and hence the answer will be extremes. Then they say in some instances, although direct contact is made, the audience is itself assumed to be playing a role, as in trial plays in which the audience is treated as a jury or as spectators in the court of justice. In other dash, the actor address the audience one moment and play as though they were a fourth wall the next. So in other cases is a phrase. In other cases means plural noun is what we need. We don't have cases here, but we do have in other instances. So instances is a better academic word for saying in other cases. Can be written as in other instances also. And the actor addressed the audience. We have modals here. And what is the modal being used in the passage? They are using may happen this way, may happen that way. So we will also go with may. The actor may address the audience or may not address the audience, because that was the context of the paragraph. So every blank, there should be a reason that why are you selecting this word and why are you not selecting the other word. It's just not like this is looking good, this is, when I put this, it looks good and that should be my answer. Use your brain. I keep on saying that the most important part of these classes, the most important learning of these classes is discussion, not the questions, not the answers, not your marks. Nothing is important. You can do that in the portal as well. Now, some of the questions, some of the students, they ask me, can we get the PDF of these tests, like all of them together, so that we can solve them at our pace? You have thousands of questions in the portal. Do those questions. These questions are just like those questions, right? So it's not about the number of questions or which question you have solved or not, or how many marks you're getting. It's about understanding the discussion. So I hope it makes sense to you now. So go with analyzation. This is a fact. It has to come in simple present tense. By contrast is a connector. By contrary is not the connector. It is on the contrary. Then between two comes with a plural noun. There are two plurals and you have to look at the context, whether context has similarities or two opposites. And then in other cases is a phrase. We don't have cases, but we have instances. Did you see that there was only one plural option given and other three were singulars? There were hints and there always are hints. You have to find them. And actor may, because the context is in may since the starting. So we don't have to look at anything else. Right? No, Mira, this is the word that they have used here is not telling us past tense here. It's a writing style. They are behaving as they were told to. So this is just an example because they have already used fourth wall. They have given you the fourth wall thing before. So now they are referring to what they have already talked about. So that is why they are using were here. But that doesn't mean that your whole paragraph is in past tense. So this sentence, the actor addressed the audience. This is a part of the story. This is a part of what is non-dramatic theater. And in non-dramatic theater, the actor does the work like this. We cannot say the actor did the work like this. So understand, what does past tense means? Something already happened and it does not happen now. Right? Question number 4, 2.5 minutes and post your answers. Good. Now this is well done. The culture of nuclear families is in fashion. Parents are often heard complaining about the difficulties in dash children these days. So we can use bringing up with children, raising children these days. So we have bringing up. The problem is not in carrying children, or the problem is not in raised children. Raised means you are already adults. So introducing children is also not a problem. When we read the context, we come to know it's about the upbringing of children. So upbringing means bringing up children. Too much of freedom in demand, too much independence, overnight parties, excessive extravagance, splurging pocket money, no time for studies. All this is a common cry of such families. Aren't parents responsible for this pitiful state? So they are saying, aren't parents themselves? Means nobody else, they themselves are responsible. So everybody is right in selecting this. Good. Independence and individuality both need to be respected. Dash maintain the sanctity of family. So why do we need these things to be respected? In order to, because if we say for, or if we say for the purpose of, after of and for comes ing form of verb, then the word should be maintaining. We say for maintaining or with the purpose of maintaining. With of and for, we cannot use first form of verb. And two words come when you have a goal written. Maintain, we need something to match with maintain, the sanctity of the family. So this is not the goal. Towards is when you're moving towards a direction to achieve something. You have a target and you are going towards that. That is when we use towards. It shows movement. Children today are to be handled with tact in order to bridge the ever dash in generation gap. In basic language, we say the generation gap is increasing, but if we have widening in the options, we should go with widening because that's more specific, more academic than saying increasing. Because increasing can be increasing is can be used for numbers also. Generation gap is not a number. And we can say generation gap was 20 and now the generation gap is 25. That is the meaning of increasing. Increasing can mean this thing also. And it does mean this thing because we use increasing and decreasing with numerical things. But what we mean to say generation gap is widening, means the number of years in between are increasing. So the gap itself is widening. If you don't have widening, then obviously we'll have to go with a lower academic word. So we can go with increasing. But if widening is there, then there's no chance of selecting increasing because it's a very general word. And gaps widen or gaps narrow are the words that we use for gap. Only the reasonable demands need to be fulfilled as there are too many expenses to be met. Many social obligations dashed off by the parents. This is also right. Many social obligations to be taken care of by the parents. Nothing else fits. You cannot say obligations for fulfilling of by the parents. In that case, of and by cannot come together. Otherwise, also, if say taking care of by the parents, have been fulfilled of by the parents. What does have been fulfilled of and by do together? So you have to say many social obligations to be taken care of. Of has to match with taken care of and then by the parents. Passive, obviously, Rupa, because we have by, so it's a passive statement. But the answer was not based on active or passive. You have to match the off thing. You have to fill something which justifies off with by. None of the other options can justify off with by because off doesn't match with any of the options, and we have to read it with by, and off and by cannot go together. Right? These are the answers. The first one, bringing up children, upbringing of children, raising children is a problem nowadays. Second one, nobody else, parents themselves are responsible. Third one, why do we need to respect independence and individuality? For maintaining the sanctity of the family. To maintain the sanctity means in order to maintain the sanctity. Widening or narrowing are the words which go with gap. Increasing and decreasing are the words which go with numerals. So there are sometimes options given which are general and specific. So if you have a specific word, you will go with that, not the general one. And there are many social obligations to be taken care of by the parents. This is how it had to be matched. Right? Any confusions, anyone? Good, Suganya. Very well done. Fifth and the last question for reading, writing blanks. 2.5 minutes and then post your answers. Third one was in order to. Alright, should be done. What is the capacity of Statue of Liberty? Who knows the capacity of Statue of Liberty? Okay, let's see. When we enter New York Harbor, the first thing we see is the Statue of Liberty. What impresses us the most is its size and dash. So we need two qualities, two nouns to describe Statue of Liberty. So one is its huge size, and the second is, many of you have written, beauty. See, capacity doesn't make sense. First of all, there is no capacity of Statue of Liberty. It's just a non-living statue standing there. That's it. Greatness cannot be used to describe a statue. Great is something that we use for the performance of human beings when they have made some efforts to do something. Then we say greatness, kindness, greatness. These words are used together. Beauty and magnificence can be kind of synonyms. Beauty is a general word. Magnificence is more academic. See, magnificence is beauty plus that element of, wonder in it. That how beautiful the thing can be, how precise, how perfect something can be. That is magnificence. Beauty to another level. That is magnificence. So when you have synonyms, always try that you are going with a non-common word. Why do you end up selecting a common word as your answer? Not common ones are more academic words. Have you ever wondered how it came to be there? The Statue of Liberty was a gift from the people of France to dash 100-year anniversary of American independence. So with to comes first form of verb. And what is the verb that we use with the noun anniversary? Start, mark, introduce, or observe. Everybody's writing. Introduce anniversary. Shabnam. We mark anniversaries. Mark means to celebrate the anniversary. To mark that day means to make that day special in some way. So Mr. B chose the look of classic Greek and Roman figures. He dashed liberty as a strong, proud figure, one who personified not only the majestic Greek goddesses of the past, but also the working men and women of the present. Finally, in 1884, the work was finished. So this person, they are using past tense, so we will also go with past tense. He dashed liberty as a strong and proud figure. He viewed, imagined, envisioned, or honored. So this was the person who first thought of how it would look like. That's not honoring. Imagination is more with something which is not real. And Statue of Liberty does exist in real. So imagine is something that we use in our daily life, saying that I have imagined this thing. That does not exist. That is complete. It can be completely fiction. So that's how we use the word imagination. So we'll go with envisioned. Envisioned is a very good word. Envisioned means he thoughtfully, carefully aspects into consideration. He made this thing in his mind. He kind of looked at it in the future, that something which is not existing, but you think that something like this should exist. That is envisioning something, imagining something, but not random imagination. It's with lot of facts, figures, things into consideration, and then you think of something to be here, something that can represent proudness, that can represent a strong figure, that can represent goddesses, something that can represent the people. Keeping all these things in mind, you're creating something in your mind, that is envisioning for the future. And then they say the work was finished, and Liberty was packed, 214 crates, and sent to New York City. So means in pieces, obviously. So he was packed with the crates into by or for. No, into. Means 214 pieces is what it was packed into. Only one problem stood in the way, that the French had raised a lot of funds to build the statue. New York had not got the funds. So whenever we have opposites, we go with while. If there's no comma, if there's a comma after the blank, we'll go with however. But however comes when you say something, say however, and then say the opposite. Means however comes in the middle of the two sides. But when the two sides are given and the blank is in the beginning, then we go with while in that case. While French had got the funds, comma, New York has not got the funds. Also cannot come because things are not similar. Besides, relates something with the previous sentence. Here the relation is in between the sentence, not with the previous sentence. Moreover, needs a comma. We don't have a comma here. It was not dash a New York newspaper implored people for donations that money became available. So it was not up to, when, unless, or until, because you're talking about the time. It was not till this time. What time? Till the time that the New York newspaper asked for donations, that money became available. Up to is when you have the limit, highest limit that you cannot cross, that you have to, this machine can weigh up to 7 kgs, means not more than that. That is up to. When is, it was not when a newspaper, what is not doing there then? Unless is used when you have a condition written after. So a New York newspaper implored people for donations is not the condition. So we are saying it was not before. Until means before that time. Means till the time the newspaper asked people, there were no donations. Before that, that is when we use until. Right? So these are the answers. The first one, magnificence, means beauty in a much, much better way. Second one, mark the days, mark the anniversary, means celebrate. Third one, he envisioned, means he thought of, taking lots of things into consideration. To think of something for the future is envisioning. Then it was packed into 214 pieces and then sent to New York. While comes when you have two opposites written after while with a comma in between. And it was not until, means before this time there was no money, and after this time they got the money. Right? Any confusions? Anybody in this question? Very good, Tamanna. Good attempt. All good with everybody? Great. Let's move with to reorders. First question, do the reorders carefully. Take 2.5 minutes if you want in place of 2 minutes, but do it carefully. Don't do them like yesterday. No, Gagan, 17 out of 25. No, not for 79. It has to be around 20 minimum. First question for reorders, 2.5 minutes I'm giving you. Sensibly read the statements, complete statements, look for the hints, and then frame an answer. Not very good. The first sentence is right. See, at various intervals of history. What does this mean? Various times in history, rivers have provided the easiest and in many areas the only means of entry and circulation of explorers, traders, conquerors, and settlers. And why are you writing C with A? Is the first sentence talking about the functions of rivers of providing water to cities? They are talking about explorers, traders, settlers, means rivers as a means of transportation is the topic in C. And then you are putting A that rivers in medieval Europe provide water for sustain cities, sewers for waste, and this and that. They're not related to each other. Just because they are also about rivers, at least they should say rivers also did this thing. Only then it makes sense. So look at what piece of information can be connected together without a connector in between. So various intervals in history is obviously very, very broad, so it will come at first. And then you have they assumed. Did you question that what is this they written for? What is the noun for this they? So that should be your question. And what are they saying? They assumed considerable importance in Europe after the fall of the Roman Empire and the dismemberment of its roads. So something became very important after the fall of the Roman Empire. They is being used for rivers, and Roman Empire would be one of the time periods of history. So that is why here B will be the second one. And now you are left with one sentence which is talking about the functions of rivers. They are used for this, they are used for that. And there's one sentence which again talks about the same topic. This is about regardless of political structures. Falling of Roman Empire is a political thing. The different empires would rise to power and they will fall. Someone else will win. They will take over the kingdom. This was politics of that time. So, regardless of political structures, control of crossing points was expressed in strongholds and the rise of bridge trunks. It is related with this sentence. And then one sentence which is very different. It has nothing to do with the other three sentences. Nothing to do in the sense, obviously, it will be about rivers. It cannot be about something as farmers. It will be about rivers, but the information does not match. So those kind of sentences always come at the end, at number 4. They cannot come in between when you have a story continuation going on. Okay. So that's fine because I won't classify it as a very easy or even average question. I would classify as a difficult one. So that's fine. Look at this one. Second one, take 2 minutes for this. This was a very easy question because it had direct links. First sentence said these marine means you should first talk about water, plankton, sea, river, something which is marine. And then they say these animal means you have to first introduce animal plankton, only then you can say these plankton. So these two sentences made it very, very easy. The first sentence, all of you are correct in selecting plankton or algae mostly constitutes the plant life. Then where are they talking about plants further? Or they're not talking about, let's say, plants, but you have these marine plankton. You cannot say marine. Why have you written A at number 2 after D? Where in D have you talked about water? That you are saying these marine plankton. So first will come E because in E you are introducing water. Some are tiny microbes which cannot be seen by the naked eye, but they are found in abundance in the sea. And only then those who belong to sea can be called these marine. These means you talked in the previous sentence about. These marine plankton form the basis of entire sea life. And then you have information about the animal plankton. Like plant plankton, there are also animal plankton. Here is where you're introducing animal plankton and then you refer to them. These animal plankton feed on plant plankton and small fish, and then you conclude there is an unbroken chain of life in the sea. This was very easy. Putting A at number 2 is a very, very big mistake because this, that, these, those is something that we do every day. How can you say these students when there are no students? So this, that, these, those, there cannot be any easiest hint than this given in the question. Who has got it correct? All right, the third one, 2 minutes, and then post your answers. Very good question again, but not very good answers. The first one is B. Everybody is correct. By 1870, only portion of the Great Plains could truly be called unsettled. Unsettled means open land, no settlement, no people living. And then after B, you have selected A. But the late 1880s, with the decline of the range cattle industry, settlers moved in, right? And then you have written E after that. When settlers moved in, after that, how can you say the land functioned as the fabled open range home to cowboys and the grazing cattle? How is it left open when they fenced it? Did you think of this? So this part has to come before any fencing, before any settlement. The land was open to anybody to come and graze their cattle. First hint, information, context. Second hint, time period. You said by the 1870, the land was unsettled. For the most of the next 2 decades, what are 2 decades after 1870? 10 years will be 1880 and next 10 years will be 1890. They said most of the next 2 decades, means not the complete 20 years. Most of the 20 years can be 15 years, can be 16 years. And then comes, but by the late 1880s, late in 1880s can be the remaining 3 years, 1887, 1888, 1886. That is the late 1880s. So you have to justify but also here. So first will come this, that most of the next 2 decades, means 15 years, 16 years, the land was open. But late 1880s, means the last 2, 3, 4 years, the settlers came in, that people started to come and live there. And then direct hint, that settlement, directly related to settlement. You just said people settled and now you're referring to that settlement. And in the end, the last time period, by the 1890s, a frontier had ceased to exist within the 48 continental states, whatever. Careful, be careful what you are saying. I always say that make a story of your order. When you have placed your answer, the last thing to check is to make a story. Okay, they are saying this was the land, it was unsettled, then it remained open, then people came, they are referring to that settlement, and in the end, they are saying the last time period. A rough story is very, very important. This was easy, not difficult. Okay, let's move on to reading questions. First one on your screens, 2.5 minutes to post your answers, and then we'll have the discussion. 2 minutes, sorry. Cairo is not only the dash city in Egypt, but also one of the largest in Middle East. With the comes third form of verb. Those who have written second form of verb, please make note that second forms come with than, not with the. With the comes third forms. So we only have one third form here, which is largest. Cairo is not only the largest in Egypt, but also one of the largest in the Middle East. It is dash for its rich history and serves as a center for the film and music industries. So with is comes third form of verb again. So we have only one. It is known for, generally say things are known for or places are known for this particular reason. Then they say Cairo also is known for, so this was a hint that the previous sentence is also known for having a wealth of Islamic architecture, which is why you might hear it being called the city of 1,000 minarets. Minars have a dash role in Islam. If we see the sentence is complete, they have a role in Islam. So whenever the sentence is complete and after the blank we have a noun, in those cases we need adjective in the blank. So that means what kind of role. How many adjectives are we given? Unique role or familiar role. Familiar is something that you already know. So we'll go with unique because roles cannot be familiar. As they are traditionally the towers from dash, Muslims are called to prayer. So referring to towers, towers are non-living things. We can refer to them saying which. Towers from which Muslims are called to prayer 5 times dash day. I really didn't understand the reason for you people selecting per day. It should be 5 times each day. Every day is what we want to write down. 5 times every day. Don't have every, so we can go with 5 times each day. I didn't understand per day here. We don't use per in these cases, in this kind of sentences. Every day I go to morning per day. I go to temple per day. What sense does it make? So these are the answers. Largest with the comes third form, with is comes third form, and the second one was it is known for its history. Third, the sentence is complete. We need an adjective for the noun role. We will say unique role means its own different role. We cannot say familiar. Familiar is something like you say, I'm familiar with this fruit. Familiar means I already know about. The fourth one, towers are non-living things. When we refer to non-living things, we generally say from which. So towers from which Muslims are called to prayer 5 times every day or 5 times each day. Any confusions, anyone? First blank. Yeah, they are saying it is not only largest in only Egypt, it is also largest in Middle East. So the point was not largest, the point was the area. Where is it largest? For example, you can say Taj Mahal is not just the best wonder in India, but it also one of the seven wonders of, also one of the largest seven wonders of the world. So look at the emphasis. Why are they saying not only and but also? And going with context when grammar is fitting. Mistake is here. Second question, 2 minutes, and then post your answers, please. Okay, should be done. Owl's eyes are unusual. Like most predators, both the eyes of the owl face front. The owl cannot move its eyes. Owls are far-sighted, which means they can see very well far away, but they can't see close very well at all. Fortunately, their vision is what they use for hunting. Sentence is complete. Vision is a noun, so we have to describe vision. What kind of vision are we talking about? So they use for hunting. They in the previous two sentences were given to give us the information that they can see far clearly, they cannot see near clearly. So which vision will they use for hunting? The one which is good, right? So they will use their far vision, which is distant vision. They use for hunting, and they can see far away even in low light. Owls can turn their heads 180 degrees. This makes it look like they might be able to turn their heads all the way around, but 180 degrees is all the owl needs to see what's going on all around it. Dash because of the owl's mysterious appearance. There are a lot of myths and dash about owls. So I'm not reading the comma to comma part. So, because of the owl's mysterious appearance, the sentence is complete. What we have in capitals is since, because of, but since and because convey the same thing. So, why will we go with since? It's better to go with perhaps because we just need additional word. So, perhaps means maybe. So, perhaps because of its mysterious appearance, there are a lot of myths and dash about owls. So, they are using plural noun. We also need a plural noun. Most of you have written beliefs. We had two options, superstitions and beliefs. Did we need a positive word or a negative word? Myths are good or bad? Beliefs are good or bad? So the answer should be superstitions. I always say whenever there are two options, there has to be one basis also to select one and not another. So they are saying because of unusual appearance or mysterious appearance, people think a lot of myths and dash about owls. They are not, myths is not something very good about owls. So we'll say myths and superstitions because both of them are from the same category, something which is not true or we don't know it is true or not. Myths and superstitions both don't have logical evidence for them. Many cultures believe that owls are unusually wise because owls are nocturnal. Some cultures dash owls with bad omens. So cultures is plural. We need a verb without s. We were given to associate and relate. The difference between them, relate comes with to, associate comes with the word with. We were given with, so that is why we'll go with associate. However, owls probably do not interact with the fates of humans at all. In fact, some owl species may become dash because of humans. So we cannot say owls can become popular because of humans. They can become extinct. Human beings only do negative things. So animals don't become popular because of us. They actually die because of us. So extinct because of humans. The way the sentence framed was also a hint, if you can understand. They said that owls don't interact with humans at all. Fates of humans mean they don't decide our destiny in any way. In fact means the opposite is true. That they suffer because of us, we don't suffer because of them. So this is a bit deeper delving into the understanding of formulation of English language. But anyhow, these are the answers. The first one is they will use their good vision. Good vision is the far off one. This they already told us, so we'll go with distant vision. And then the second one, since, because, sorry, not since, perhaps, because we cannot use since in the starting of the sentence. Third one, there are myths and superstitions because both of them are negative. Negative in the sense that they don't have any logics behind them. Beliefs are not something that we use in negative sense. Some cultures associate because of the word with. If they would have given us two, we'll go with relate. And the last one, kind of contrast. Owls don't have anything to do with fates of humans. In fact, humans do negative to them. So that is they become extinct. Any confusions, anyone? Don't forget to check positive, negative. This is high time that these things should be in your head. Some things that we do every day. Third question, 2 minutes and post your answers. Alright, the answers for this one are: it is 30 odd years now since the placement of the first assistance dog, but only in recent years with the rising independent movement dash disabled people. So people will be so many. So we'll say among the people that so many people are wanting to stay independent. So with the rising independent movement among disabled people, has the idea dash to spread widely. So with has comes third form of verb. How many do we have? begun is the only one, no choice. So this idea has begun to spread quickly. While most service dogs dash to work with people who rely on wheelchairs, so most service dogs have been training, means dogs are training someone. That's when we use have or has, but that's wrong. We'll go with passive voice. Dogs are trained to work with people who rely on wheelchairs. Other categories of helping dogs include hearing dogs, who alert their owners, dash sound such as doorbells, phones, cooking timers. So if obviously somebody cannot hear, so you have to alert them to the sound. So to the sound such as these, smoke alarms, and seizure dogs dash carry medication in their bags and are trained to dial 911 on the phones. Oh, that's new. Seizure dogs, we are referring to dogs. When we refer, we'll go with which, because what else do we have? Seizure dogs which carry medication. We cannot say seizure dogs whom carry. We can say seizure dogs who carry. Even if we are treating them as living beings, for the context, we can say seizure dogs who carry medication, but we cannot say whom carry medication. So it will be seizure dogs which carry medication. But there should be a comma. Where? No, not necessarily. I told you once that what is the difference between that and which. If they would have given you that also in the options, then they would have given a comma. Otherwise, let's say there's no comma, they have given you that and which, you will go with that. And if there is a comma and they have given you that and which, you will go with which. But it's not necessary that they will always give a comma when there is no option on the basis of comma. Means comma doesn't have the purpose anywhere, because the choice is between which and whom. So comma may not be there. So additional hints are always when there are two words which when both of them can fit, then they give you additional hints, right? To is already used, Anu, in this. They have to alert their owners to the sound. How can we put to here? So these are the types of dogs. Say seizure dogs to carry medication. To is doing what here? So did they say here hearing dogs to alert their owners? No, they are describing who are hearing dogs. Hearing dogs, who are they? Who alert their owners. Next category is seizure dogs. Who are they? Who carry medication. But they didn't give us who. They gave us which instead. Because animals can both be referred with which and who. Both are fine because they are living things. We can use who for them, but we use it for them as the pronoun. So which can also be used. All right, the last question for today, fourth one, 2 minutes for this, and then post your answers. Alright, let's discuss the answers. Imagination is a noun. We need adjective, Vamsi. Please go through the rules carefully. Alfred Hitchcock was a man with imagination, strong creative skills, and a passion for life. Sentences complete. Imagination is a noun, and the blank should be filled with an adjective, means what kind of imagination he had. Influenced is a verb. Vivid is an adjective when we only have one adjective, no choice. Vivid imagination. With his unique style and God-gifted wit, he produced and directed some of the most thrilling films that had the audience almost swooning with fright and falling off their seats with laughter. He was greatly dashed by American films and magazines. So before by, we need third form of verb. He, as a person, a human being, is dashed by American films and magazines. Affected is something that we use in negative context, so we'll go with influenced, because when you take positive inspiration, then it's better to go with influenced. At the age of 20, he took up a job at the office of Paramount Studio. Using imagination, talent, and dedication, he made each of his dash a success. So with possessive pronoun always comes a noun, and each of means the answer has to be plural. Only then you can say every of. For one singular noun, we cannot say each of. There's only one student and we say distribute the sweets to each of them. There's only one. We cannot say, right? So each of comes with plural. So he made a plural noun a success. Each of his endeavors means any venture he started, he made it a success. He moved to USA 1939 and got his American citizenship in 55. Here he produced more films and hosted a weekly television show. Almost complete. Any additional word will go. He produced more films, many more. A few is kind of negative writing style. We won't go negative. We have no hint that there was only 2-3 number of films that he produced. So we'll say many films he produced. No matter from where his ideas came, dash a magazine article, a mystery novel, or incident, his films had the typical Hitchcock touch. So whenever we have options and those options don't matter, then we go with whether. Whether this or that doesn't make a difference. There would always be his touch. So whether he takes his story from a novel, whether he takes it from an article, whether he takes his story from a real life incident, doesn't matter. He always used to add his touch. So whether is used in that case. Right? Any confusions, anyone? The first one, we needed an adjective and there was only one that we had, so no choice. Vivid imagination. Before by, we need third form of verb, a positive word, not a negative one, so influenced. Third one, each of comes with plural noun. So each of the endeavors means his businesses, his startups, everything can be called an endeavor. The fourth one, he produced many more films because we don't know how many he produced. We cannot say a few. A few means 3, 4, 5, 6. Or it conveys something which is, we want to say, small number of. And the last one, whether, because doesn't matter. They have written no matter from where his ideas came. Right? Any other confusion? Anyone in this question? Very well done. Tamanna, good improvement, Tamanna, good going. Suganya, you as well. And those who are still taking or doing their questions with the same methods, please accept this, that you will have to change your methods of reading, your ways of interpreting, your methods of analyzing, and then your scores will change. I know it's very difficult to make a change, to change your habits, but you have to go through the process if you want to do it quicker. Otherwise, it will be keep on, taking a lot of time.